All right. Well, we are back again this week for Tuesday motivation and conversation. And listen, I ain't by myself this time. I got a guest in the room. Welcome, 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 Rosalind Davis. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you today?
Doing good, doing good. So listen, I don't want to do the spoiler and mess nothing up. So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do, and then we're gonna do some conversing, some conversation, and in the midst of our conversation, hopefully we can do some motivation.
Awesome, awesome. Well, my name is Rosalind Davis, and I am a transformational success strategist. And I started out in personal development, but then I shifted over into dealing with the mindset. So I'm a strategist to help you shift your internal being to change
All
your
right.
so that you can become the person that you want to be and not just walking in a place of performance. I wanted to be in a place of where you're where your presence is there. So that's what I do as a life coach. I help you shift your mind to be able to, get rid of those mental blocks and all those different limiting beliefs that have stopped you from really expressing who God created you to be. And it's just that simple. That's all I do right there. I'm just that.
Well, look, that's a lot and that's enough. And in this season and time, Rosalind, we need coaches like yourself, like myself. I'm a clarity coach and strategic management consultant. And so we need both of those components. So you don't just need the transformation of mindset, but you also need a plan of action. And so that's what strategy is about, having a plan of action, and I just recently just a week or so ago on this platform was talking about the fact of clarity and how it's important that we get that clarity and then we press ourselves to a position that makes sense, because so oftentimes we're just kind of going on what folks saying. No, you need to get a little background, you need to get some clarity, you need to understand that you have to have a plan of action. It's one thing to step out there and just do it, and we got those schools of thoughts that just step out there, take action, take action. But if you're not clear about what you're taking action on, that's going to derail you somewhere down the road. And then you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to make adjustments. So it's important to have those strategies in place. And then transformation in this season is important. Romans talks about Romans 12 talks about being renewed, with the renewing of our mind, being transformed by the renewing of our mind. And so, sometimes I think we don't really realize how the renewing the transformation has to come with the renewing. And if we don't take time to renew, reflect, and that kind of thing, and make sure that we're on a trajectory and that we're aligned with where it is that we're trying to go, transformation can take place. So it's the simple, practical aspects of it all that, works. And we need folks like yourself and myself in the trenches doing what it is that we do.
Absolutely. Bridget, I was thinking the other day how that so many times we get distracted.
Yep,
And because of those distractions, we don't even know that we're off course. We
that's
don't
right.
off course. And a lot of times the reason that we get distracted is because we don't have a plan of action and we
That's
don't
it.
have that clarity and we don't have those boundaries already established. So when we're pulled out and chaos begin to show up, we're like, well, what happened? It's because
You right.
we didn't have that clarity and we didn't have those boundaries set and we did not have a plan of action to keep us on track.
Absolutely. That's absolutely good and it's absolutely true, because clarity is a compass. And so it helps us with our direction. And so to your point, when we get off course, if you get distracted by something, but you got clarity about the direction you're going in and
Yeah,
you got a plan of action to get to manifestation, well, it's easier to get back on track, because that clarity, that compass is going to point you north and get you back in line with where it is that you're trying to go. And so that is so, so very important. And, in this season and time, it's one of the things I think that a lot of people do not have, and that's clarity. They're operating, they're moving, and you can be focused and not have clarity.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's just like, you can be focused, like when you go to get that eye examination, you're focused and you're looking at that wall or that chart, but that doesn't mean that you have clarity on how you're going to read them letters.
Absolutely.
You're focused on it. And it's just like we can get focused on a task, but not have clarity. So you have the will to do it, you have the energy to do it, and you have the mindset to do it, but you don't have clarity. It's like you are not clear about what is the goal. What is the end result? What am I aiming for? And so I think that is so important because we don't want to be out here just, aimlessly, exerting energy and not establishing ourselves to make goals and get into manifestation because it is possible to get there.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that segues us right into what's happening coming up September. I got to go into the buzz. What's happening? So Emerge 2025 is on the horizon. Listen, it's of course, for those of you who are tuning in and for those that will watch the replay, it's happening September 26 and 27. So talk to us about Emerge 2025. Where did that come from? How did that come about? Talk to us about Emerge 2025 because we got some stuff that's going to be happening. I'm excited.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to give you a little backstory on that.
Okay, come on with the backstory.
On that, when I first jumped over into personal development, I was in a training, I was in a class, and I knew that I wanted to be a speaker because I've always enjoyed being on that stage. And I course, and I got inside of this class and all the different things that was there to take me there. But what happened was, Bridget, is that I come to a place to realize that I had some mental and emotional blocks. That enemy. I had the strategy, I had the plan, I had the goals. Just like you alluded to a few minutes ago, I can be focused, but I wasn't going to get there because of these mental blocks. And so what I did is I moved over into personal development. And as I tell people all the time, personal development is exactly what it said is. It's personal.
Yes,
it
absolutely
gets personal. And so I went into that and I realized those things about myself. And as I began to study, I moved over into self-awareness. And as I moved into self-awareness, it led me into the mindset. And I think is how the direction that my life is going to go, regardless of all the plans that I have. The thoughts that I have is going to drive my life. It's going to impact the decisions that I make. And so that led me over into going to the next level, which was the last that we just had, which was the event preceding this one. And Emerge is just a branch of going to the next level, because in the next level, what we did, we got a foundation. But into Emerge, where we're going to get the actual steps, the actual framework that is going to cause us to rise to that next level and begin to execute the things that we're going to do. And there is more, but this is where we are right now. And I'm super excited about it because with you and our other coach that is in there, I can see things shifting in the lives of the individuals, taking from the next year woman. Listen to this, Bridget.
Yes.
I'll do it next year. We're not talking about the next year woman. We're talking about the woman now.
Right now. Right now.
Working on it. That's what Emerge is about, is taking you to a place to where you can begin to embody the true individual and true character and the true purpose that God has deposited on the inside of you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Embodying. And the other thing I thought about it right there when you were talking about that is the epitome of you, the epitome of who you are. And embodying, going deeper. And I'm going to tell you something. And this is one of the things, of course, that I'm going to kind of be focusing on. And that is that whole, clarity piece, that self-work. And that's where we struggle sometimes because, once we've gotten to a place in life, especially when you're 50 plus, you feel like, hey, I'm half a century in here. I've been around the block about 5 or 10 times. I got this. But things are shifting all the time. Things are occurring all the time, and things are occurring new. And while there's nothing new under the sun, the approaches are new. The presentations are new. The display of things are new, and they're different. And so we have to be alert. We have to be aware, and we have to also remain relevant. And in order to remain relevant, we have to know who we are. And so that self-awareness piece is so very important because that helps us to embody who we are, our behaviors, our gestures, things that we do, why we do it, understanding those things. And so I can't wait to go deep. I'm telling you, because that's where that opportunity really emerges for us. Because when we get really secure and confident about who we are, oh my God, that's when we can take that thing on to that next level and be ready for the next year woman. You know what I mean? So it's that whole thing about when you get the clarity, then the confidence comes. When the confidence comes, better communication comes because you're sure about who you are. So you ain't tripping on the small stuff. You're not spazzing out about these trivial things that people do and say. And then you get to that place where you can collaborate. And that's what I love about what's happening with the team that you're putting together or have put together. There is harmony there, the collaboration itself. And so with that collaboration, we have the opportunity to do even greater impact. And you said something else, and that was the fact about personal development. It's personal.
Yes, yes.
And I don't understand how, sometimes people get into these personal development programs and then you don't want to be personal. But at the end of the day, if you ain't gonna get personal, how you gonna get help? How you gonna heal? How you gonna overcome? And how are you gonna break through some of these barriers? At the end of the day, if you don't confront it, it doesn't change.
Yes.
And so a lot of that comes from doing that self work. And that's why, going deep these 2 days, I think is going to be amazing. So I'm saying women, come, be comfortable, because we don't need nobody with your feet hurting, your bras too tight, your girls too tight, all that. Listen, you need to, no, I'm serious. Be comfortable because you don't need no distractions. You need to come in because if you're serious about moving forward, you need to be able to be focused.
Absolutely.
And you need to be able to absorb what's being shared. And so we're going for it. It's going to be real. It's going to be raw. We're going to talk about the things that keep us bound, and in this season, it's harder than ever sometimes to really establish those boundaries because we're trying to be everything to everybody in this season of life. And we're trying to spread our wisdom as far as we can. And so sometimes we have to dial that back and we have to figure out the fact that, yeah, if I don't balance all the things I have going on, the mental stress is going to increase rather than decrease.
Absolutely. And Bridget, just going back to the personal development piece again, talking about how we going to do that if we can't be personal. How can I grow? How can I come out of that? And that's what we're doing, to make sure we're creating a space for you to be vulnerable, for you to come in and to open up and to share without judgment, but then to share with you the framework on how to fix that. We want to share the framework on how to fix that. And we want you to be open. We want you to be open. You may cry, you may break, you may shudder, whatever. But we're going to create that space for you to be able to do that so you can break through and break forth out of that. And that was key when you were talking about, the personal development, but I don't want to get personal. But we want to make that space is where it's a safe space. And
absolutely
be vulnerable, and you can share those things that are actually holding you back.
Absolutely. And I have been I've been in a lot of different rooms and, recently, just this year. And when I tell you it is a common theme, we have so many women that are 50 plus that are in this space and that are in this season of life. Yes. And one of the things is from a personal perspective. And that is sometimes you just got to start with your house. You got to start. And when I say your house, I mean what's happening in your immediate area, what's happening in your immediate family, whatever goals you have. And we got to learn how to sit down and have real conversations. We got to have authentic conversations, and we've got to be able to share the things that are important to us. Because oftentimes at this stage in life, we have worn ourselves so thin. We have given so much. We've given in corporate. We've given in our families. We've given in our churches. We've given in our communities. We've given in nonprofit organizations. And we've given to extended family. We've given and given and given, and we've given to friends. We've given and given and given until it's so thin. It's like you don't have you don't feel like you have a whole lot left to work with. So that's when we have to go back, and then we have to rebuild that skin again, because we started out with the thick skin, all the energy, and then we just, it got chipped away at, and then you just like, can't even figure out how to breathe and how to exhale. And so we want to make sure that, we give opportunity for that thought process, and then not only from the personal perspective, but then from the business perspective, because a lot of us are transitioning out of corporate or we're getting ready for retirement, whichever one it is. And so you may be retiring and not necessarily thinking about business, but what is it that I want to do once I'm out of the corporate scene? I don't want to sit down. I'm not that person, at 55, I'm ready to just sit at the house and watch TV every day. But I want to be productive. I want to do something. And that's where we have to really zone in on our purpose and what it is that we're called to do, and realizing that those skills don't die. They don't go away. They don't erode because you come out of corporate or you come off of a job that you've been on for 15, 20, 30 years. But those skills have then been enhanced. You have improved upon those skills because you've done them for years. And that experience really can't be paid for because nobody else has it but you. And so I
Absolutely.
think those are some areas of revelation and realization that we have to tap into and we have to go a little bit deeper with, and help some of our sisters to really start to think about, how can I utilize my skills and my abilities in a different perspective, and take this purpose on a different path. It may be, an entrepreneur endeavor. It may not be. It may just be a speaker. It may just be a facilitator. It may just be, being a part of an organization or whatever. But I think that that's an area that we really have to tap into. And I know that within these sessions, those are some of the tools that we're going to be bringing.
Yeah.
That's going to be like, so bring your toolkit empty so you can fill it up, because we're going to be bringing the goods in these areas. So I wanted to kind of throw that out and then ask you to kind of piggyback on that and talk about that a little bit.
Well, the thing, obviously, and I'm just going to share from a personal a perspective.
Yeah.
Because we can get to a place to where after we've poured out so much, and we've given so much and given to so many people, and then when
Mhm.
life shifts, it's almost
Yep.
as if we are no longer needed,
Yep.
as if what we have is no longer said worthy or valuable. But we want to
That's
come
right.
at you and we want to show you that what you carry is valuable, because there are some of us in the room that still
Hmm.
what you have and what you're carrying in order to help us to get to that next level. Because that's what I said. I don't want to wait for the next generation, Bridget. I don't
Yes.
for the next generation. I want to make sure that I've done every single thing
That's
that
right.
I possibly do to be able to utilize all the gifts and all the talents and all the skills that God has allowed me to acquire throughout these number of years. I was going to say my age, but these 60 plus
Well,
years.
we don't look like the ages that we are, and we thank God for His grace
Amen.
and His mercy. You
Amen.
know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, look, don't let the good looks fool you, because there's experience here. We have been around the block a few times, and so you mentioned something, and that is core values. And I have traveled this country. I've done what's called pen to paper for many years, conferences. I've done workshops. I've done it in various cities, from the East Coast to the West Coast. I've done it north. And what I have seen over and over again is, we can't assume anything. There are so many people who are existing and they're not living. And we can easily get caught up in the purpose of somebody else, whether it's a husband, whether it is a leader, whether it is a corporate leader, corporate management. It could be a pastor, or just a person who has leadership anointing. And we can get lost in that. And we are existing for the purpose of that individual or those individuals. And we never figure out, why is it that I'm here? Why is it that God touches me and wake me up every morning? What is the purpose that I have? And I'll never forget the very first workshop that took place in Las Vegas, Nevada, years ago, 2017, I believe it was. There was a lady who was so overcome with just the realization of the fact that she was just existing and not living, and had no idea what her purpose was.
Yes.
And that opportunity, that session opened her up to begin to search herself and begin to reflect on her life to figure out, who is it that I am? What is it that I love to do? Who is it that I am here for? What is my purpose beside my immediate family and my spouse? And she was in tears. I don't know what my purpose is. And when a person really desires to understand and know that, that can be a really sad place to be in. But she promised herself that day going forward that she was going to find out what it was. And the next year, when I went back, I had the opportunity to reconnect with her, and it was a whole different, atmosphere, a whole different persona. Her outlook was different, and it just because she took the time to do the work. And so I'm getting back to that thing of doing the work is important. And so, at the end of the day, you have to know your core values. What is it that you believe? Why is it that you believe it? And so many people don't even know. They don't know what their core values are. And because we don't know, we can be tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine when we don't know what our core values are. That's where clarity comes in. Clarity helps you to understand, what are my core values? What are the things that really matter to me? What's important to me? Because if we don't know that, Rosalind, you know what? We'll end up taking an idea and it'll end up going all over the place, or someone will be able to snatch that from us because we don't have that core in place, and we don't have that clarity to give us direction and give us that compass. So I think that's another thing that is going to really be illuminated during this 2-day experience, and that is helping you to identify those core values, how to put those things in place, and how to always have those things as your center, along with the clarity that you're going to, gain as a result. And I think that's going to be really, really important, especially as we evolve and strive to stay relevant with what it is that God has given us to do.
Absolutely. And Bridget, I've been so while you were sharing the story of the young lady that you had met at the event, that story just 2 years ago.
Wow.
That was my story just 2 years ago. I didn't know what my purpose was. I was always there supporting. I was getting things done. I was making things happen, but inside I was still empty and void in myself. And so, like I said, there are a lot of us that are still out there, and we want to try to bring this into this space and feel that. We want to open this up so that you can begin to step into your true purpose, and find that. And that's what we're going to lay out, these tools, these strategies. We're going to do sessions where you're going to actually, it's going to be hot seats.
Yes.
Where you're to actually see this thing in action and really feel the impact, because we want you to leave here. We want you to leave transformed.
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. Live coaching will be done in the room. I know I do it all the time, and I think it's beneficial because and I tell people, don't ever shy away from asking questions. There's no dumb question, because the question you ask may be the answer for someone else in the room. And so that live coaching, on the spot, hot seat coaching, I love it, because at the end of the day, that's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we get released. And for the lack of a better term for the space, that's how we get delivered and move, and we can move on to the next place. But it is a story that is so, similar for so many women, because we wear so many hats, and we just get worn down. And the next thing you know, burnout. And so it's important for us to have a connection. And the other thing about this is we are resources, So when you come, don't think that you just come and get an apple off the tree and you're going to run on, eat it, and do what you do. You're coming to get some resources, and then we're going to be a resource so that you can connect, the follow-up, that kind of thing. And I think that's important, because a lot of times, in many of the events that take place, we get a lot of high-level information, and then people have to figure out, well, what do I do with this? How do I utilize this? And so I love to do follow-up with people and to just check in and say, hey, we enjoyed you being a part of this session. We talked about XYZ. How are you managing with this process, these tools? If there's anything that we can do, to really be an additional resource, here's some opportunities that you can take advantage of. And I think all of us have external resources that we can point people to that they can take advantage of, because it's one thing to tell me how, but it's another thing to show me how.
Absolutely. 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 Because that's subjective. That's subjective.
Yeah,
Event is to make sure that we show you how, and not just be another event that's filled with, valuable information and great takeaways, but we want you to walk away. We want
that's it.
you to walk.
That's it.
We want that new individual. We want you to discover a newness about yourself, and for you to walk away with a new mindset, with new clarity, new confidence, a new
That's it.
you know what I'm saying? Refreshing
Yes,
to go to that next level. That's what it's
absolutely.
Bridget.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I took the opportunity to um get on a webinar the other day, and it was a young man I've never really come across before. And I said, well, let me just see, what's happening. And it was the same playbook. And I was really disappointed because and I get hype. I've been in too many rooms like this. I get the hype, and I'm glad you've made the millions, and I love it. But telling me your story doesn't help me to make millions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, and it's wonderful, but telling me over and over how many millions you made, and this, that, and the third, you're not giving me anything. And if you can't give me a piece of what you have done,
Yeah.
before I invest, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
And so I feel like, and I understand monetizing and things of that nature, but I think there has to be some people who are willing to serve in the middle. And
Absolutely.
and I feel like we are those people God has chosen to serve in the middle, where we're not fleecing you. We're not trying to charge you for every word. We're not trying to charge you for every tool and resource that we give you. Now, granted, it's what we do, it's our livelihood. So yes, we do charge. There's compensation, for what it is that God has given us to do. But at the end of the day, we should be able to share in part without, I can't tell you nothing until you spend 5,000 or $10,000. I don't even know if I'm a fit. You know what I'm saying? Because you just giving me all this high level information, and told me about your success. And that's wonderful. I am excited for the success. But what are you telling me to help me move along?
Yeah. I'm gonna
You know,
be back in the same room with you doing talking about the same thing next year. Because like I said, when we go to our next event, I expect the women to be on a new level, not just
that's right. That's right.
on a new level where we can share something new and refreshing to help them get there. But I want to share, just kind of piggyback off what you just said, though, Bridget. I went,
Hmm.
I went into a space as well, and when I went into this space, it was, and I don't mind quoting numbers because I wouldn't I wouldn't call anybody's name, but when
Hmm.
you pay $2,000 to be in a room for
Hmm.
a weekend, and you go back home and you got to figure out how to make that work.
That
That,
part.
like I said, that right there, this encourages you and causes
Yes.
you to feel like, okay, I'm stuck, or maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there
That's
was
right.
said. No, most of the time it's not given. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are there to walk the process out with you.
Absolutely.
Can't change everything in that moment, but we can change one thing. We can
Yes.
change one thing in that space. And what I've come to understand, if you can get off 1 degree, you'll never
Yes.
that same spot again that you were in. And if we can
That's right.
your life and your mindset by 1 degree, we
That's
know
it.
transformation is going to take place in your life. So I'd like,
Absolutely.
we don't want anybody to walk away and not receive, you know what I'm saying, something that
That's right.
them actively apply in their lives in that moment when they leave this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The whole aim and the whole goal is that every person that leaves that room, they leave that room impacted.
Yeah,
And I don't care whether it's 12 or 200. Impact is the most important thing,
yeah,
because what I've learned, when people are impacted, they're going to tell somebody else.
yeah,
And not only that, they're going to show up for themselves, because something has been imparted that has what revolutionized their thought process, that has caused transformational thinking to take place. Not only that, it's gotten them to a manifestation of new thinking. And that's exactly what we want to happen. And
yeah,
so, I think, it's the whole point of what we have just expressed is the fact that this investment is well worth your time investment and your financial investment.
Absolutely.
And both of them are valuable. But time is your greatest because you cannot get your 2 days back.
Can't get them back.
You can't get a refund on them 2 days. You cannot repurpose those 2 days. You can't take it to any store and say, hey, I want a refund. None of that. You cannot do it. So
No.
once you spend those 2 days, and so we want to make sure that those 2 days as presenters and of course you as a host, that they're impactful, and that you walk away and you like, man, y'all should have been at Emerge 2025. You want to, here again, you want to Emerge, go in with something, but it's just like being baptized. You go down in that water, you come up, some new ought to be done happen. You understand what I'm saying? So there's an immersion and there's an immersion. And
Yeah.
so we want to be able to do both. We want to go deep in two different directions. And I believe it's well worth the investment. It's going to be well worth your time. I'm telling you, my grandmom, you say you can't beat this with a stick. So at $97 for 2 days, and the 3 coaches that are going to be sharing and imparting into you is going to be past the investment, the value of the investment that you're going to be making. So it is going to be so well worth it. And then we want to encourage, of course, that, each of you that have already registered, that you share it with somebody. And for those of you that are preparing to register and you got it on your calendar and you just hadn't done it, now the day the 15th, y'all know how we do. It the 1st and the 15th, and the end of the month. All of these dates. So make sure that you get registered. It is going to be a phenomenal time. The room is going to be filled with some amazing information and some amazing women. And so, of course, I want to toss it to you to just kind of share your invite and anything else that you want to share as we prepare to wrap up tonight and invite the people. Let them know what you need.
Well, I am super excited, Bridget, about what's going to take place because once, like you said, I've already written the vision. And
yes,
it is going to come to pass. And that is that we're going to change people's lives. And I want to encourage you to show up for yourself, not for anybody,
yes,
but for yourself. Show up for that new person that you want to be, that new version of you, that better version of you. Show
yes.
up for you. And as she said, $97, you can't beat it. Not for
Okay.
being power packed, not just information, but strategies, the tools.
Yes.
And then you have the coaching. You have somebody that is going to make it they're going to personalize it and help you to get to your specific goals in life. So like I said, I'm excited and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Dallas, Texas on September 26th and the 27th. Don't miss out. Go ahead and register today.
All right. Well, listen, you heard it from the Rosalind Davis. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Make sure you click the link below this podcast or this session and get registered. And then we're going to ask you to share that link with somebody else. All right. We're looking forward to seeing you in the room. We're looking forward to seeing your sister, your auntie, your mama, everybody. We want to see everybody in the room. Now, everybody show up for yourself and still bring them with you. All right. Well, listen, we're excited. Thank you for tuning in for another session of motivation and conversation on this Tuesday. And we're going to ask you if anything on this session was shared that spoke to you, that resonated with you. Will you please share this with someone else? They may not know about it. They may be in the Dallas area, or they may not be in the Dallas area. They may be outside the DFW Metroplex, but they're willing to come in for a weekend to share in this space and be in this room. And so we want that opportunity to be afforded. So will you help us help them by sharing this with those in your circle? We'll look forward to seeing you next time right here, same time, same place, Tuesday Motivation and Conversation, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll see you next time.